The air tasted of rust and ionized metal as Captain Elias Vance picked his way through the corpse of New Phoenix. His boots kicked up plumes of the ever-present red dust that coated everything like a funeral shroud. The city's skeletal towers loomed overhead, their jagged silhouettes cutting across the sickly orange sky. He paused to adjust his respirator, the filters protesting as they strained against the particulate-heavy air. 3 days without replacement cartridges. He'd be coughing up blood by week's end. A chime from his wrist scanner snapped him to attention. The readout showed a power signature. Faint, erratic, but unmistakably human tech. Not the cold, efficient energy curves of Vorati machinery. Vance's pulse quickened. In the 6 months since the last evacuation ships had been shot from the sky, he hadn't encountered anything more advanced than a solar still that still functioned. The signal led him to a half-collapsed transit tunnel. Vance ducked beneath a twisted I-beam, his shoulder scraping against crumbling concrete. The darkness swallowed him whole until his flashlight revealed a sealed security door, its biometric panel dark, but its manual release gleaming with recent use. Stop right there. The voice came from behind him, accompanied by the distinctive whine of a charging plasma rifle. Vance froze, hands drifting slowly away from his sidearm. Turn around. Slowly. The woman who stepped into his light wore a scavenger's patchwork armor, but held her weapon with military precision. A jagged scar ran from her hairline to her chin, pulling her lip into a permanent half-snarl. The rifle never wavered. "Kara Vex," Vance said, keeping his voice level. "Last survivor of the 42nd Mechanized. I thought you'd gone groundside after the bombardment." Her eyes narrowed. "Captain Elias Vance, the man who lost the Arcturus." Her finger tightened on the trigger. "You've got 3 seconds to tell me why I shouldn't turn you into vapor. Because whatever's behind that door is our only way off this rock." Vance nodded toward the sealed entrance. "Vorati patrols have doubled in this sector. They're sweeping for something." Kara's rifle dipped slightly. "And you think it's in there?" "I know it is." Vance tapped the scanner. Human power signature. Strong enough to be a ship's core. Recent enough that the Vorati haven't found it yet. A distant hum vibrated through the tunnel walls. They both knew that sound. Vorati skimmers on patrol. Kara made a decision, lowering her weapon and moving to the door's manual release. "If this is a trap, you die first." The door slid open to reveal a cavernous hangar. Its far wall collapsed from some ancient bombardment. And there, resting on makeshift landing struts, was the Dawn Chaser, a Mark 7 fast attack vessel, its hull scorched but intact. Vance's breath caught. He'd flown these during the Battle of Ceres. Fast, maneuverable, and armed with prototype phase cannons of Vorati still hadn't developed counters for. Kara let out a low whistle. "That's not just any ship. That's Admiral Cole's personal bird." She turned to Vance, suspicion hardening her features. "How did you know this was here?" Vance approached the ship, running a hand along its carbon-scored flank. "I didn't, but the Vorati have been combing the sector meter by meter. They're looking for something valuable." He turned to face her. "Turns out, so are we." The hum grew louder, closer. Kara's head snapped up. "They've triangulated us." She was already moving toward the ship's ramp. "That bird better fly, Vance." As the Dawn Chaser's engines roared to life, Vance's scanner lit up with multiple inbound contacts. The hangar's ruined ceiling shuddered as a Vorati skimmer passed overhead, its searchlight spearing through gaps in the structure. Kara strapped into the co-pilot seat as Vance brought the systems online. "We'll never outrun them in Atmo," she shouted over the rising whine of the engines. "We're not trying to." Vance's hands flew across the controls. "This model has experimental dampeners. If we time it right, dash." The hangar exploded inward as the Vorati opened fire. The Dawn Chaser lurched forward, maneuvering thrusters screaming as Vance guided it through the collapsing structure. They burst into the open air just as the skimmer banked for another pass. "Hold on." Vance engaged the phase cannons, their distinctive blue beams lancing upward. The skimmer's shields flared violet before failing. It spiraled downward, impacting the ruins in a fireball that lit the dusk like a second sunrise. "Kara!" whooped as more contact appeared on the scanner. 3 more incoming. And something bigger on the horizon. Vance wrenched the controls hard to port as energy bolts streaked past the canopy. The ship shuddered under near misses. We need to lose them before that cruiser gets weapons locked. As they skimmed the dead city's corpse, an alert flashed on Vance's console. An automated signal, weak but persistent, coming from not the surface, not orbital either. His blood ran cold as he recognized the transmission pattern. Kara saw it too. That's not Verratti. That's Dash. Old Earth code. Vance finished. He made a decision, punching in new coordinates. The Dawn Chaser's engine screamed as he pushed them beyond safety limits. Behind them, the Verratti cruiser began its firing sequence. As the stars blurred into streaks, Kara turned to him. Where exactly are we, Dash? The ship lurched violently as something massive locked onto them. Not a weapon. A tractor beam. The last thing Vance saw before the blackout was the impossible silhouette of a ship unlike anything in Verratti or human design, its smooth organic curves glowing with eerie blue light. Then everything went dark. Consciousness returned to Vance in jagged fragments. The acrid tang of ozone burned his nostrils as his eyelids fluttered open to reveal a curved ceiling pulsing with bioluminescent veins. He tried to move, but restraints bit into his wrists and ankles. Next to him, Kara groaned, her scarred face twisted in pain as she strained against her own bonds. "Welcome back, Captain." The voice was smooth, synthetic, and utterly alien. Vance turned his head to see a towering figure silhouetted against the eerie blue light. It stepped forward, revealing a humanoid form sheathed in what looked like liquid metal, its face featureless save for 2 slits where eyes should have been. Kara spat blood. "What the hell are you?" The creature tilted its head. "Designation, custodian. You may consider me a caretaker." It gestured to their surroundings, a vast organic chamber that seemed equal parts grown and built. This vessel has waited a long time for worthy inheritors. Vance tested his restraints again. "We didn't come here by choice." "Choice is irrelevant." The custodian leaned closer, its voice dropping to a whisper. "The Verratti have breached the quarantine zone." The pattern repeats. A holographic projection flickered to life above them, showing Earth's solar system, but not as Vance knew it. The image zoomed out, revealing a network of glowing lines connecting hundreds of stars. At the center, a pulsing red eye. Kara's breath hitched. "That's a Verratti hive fleet." "Correction," the custodian said. "That is the Verratti homeworld. What you have fought are merely its spores." Vance's stomach turned to ice. All their wars, their sacrifices against scouts? The projection shifted, showing another species, tall, elegant beings with crystalline skin, fighting the same enemy. Then another, and another. Each civilization fell in the same way. Infiltration, subversion, annihilation. "You're saying we never stood a chance," Vance growled. The custodian straightened. "Until now." It released their restraints with a wave of its hand. "Your species possesses a unique anomaly. Resilience." Kara rubbed her wrists, eyeing the exit. "Flattery won't make us trust you. Trust is unnecessary. Survival is imperative." The custodian gestured, and a section of the wall dissolved, revealing the Dawn Chaser. Upgraded, its hull now threaded with the same glowing veins as the chamber. "The Verratti singularity approaches. You will take this vessel to their origin point." Vance barked a laugh. "You want us to fly into their home system?" "Not just you." The custodian turned as 3 more figures entered the chamber. A hulking man with cybernetic arms, a slight woman whose eyes glowed faintly blue, and a wiry teenager clutching a data pad. The cyborg cracked his knuckles. "Name's Jax. Heard you boys need a mechanic." The glowing-eyed woman nodded. "Dr. Lyra Chun. I specialize in xenotechnology." The kid grinned. "Call me Pip. I hack things." Kara looked ready to strangle someone. "This is your crew?" A scrap heap, a lab rat and a child? Pip scowled. "I'm 17. Vance ignored them, stepping toward the custodian. "What aren't you telling us?" The alien went perfectly still. "The weapon you seek is not a device. It is a message, one buried in human DNA. The Verratti fear it. That is why they hunt you." "Silence." Then the ship shuddered violently as alarms wailed. Pip yelped, tapping frantically at his pad. "We've got company. Varadi dreadnought, closing fast." The custodian's form began to dissolve. "The choice is yours. Die here or strike at the heart of the storm." Kara was already running for the Dawn Chaser. "You owe me a gunfight, Vance." As the others scrambled aboard, Vance hesitated, staring at the projection of the Varadi homeworld. Then he turned and sprinted for the ship, the custodian's final words ringing in his skull. "Remember, they fear you." The Dawn Chaser S-engines roared to life just as the first torpedoes hit. The Dawn Chaser tore through the void like a bullet through flesh, its newly enhanced engine screaming under the strain. Vance gripped the controls as the Varadi dreadnought filled their view screen, a grotesque obsidian monolith bristling with weapons. Alarms shrieked as targeting lasers painted their hull. Evasive pattern delta. Vance barked. Jax's mechanical hands flew across the engineering console. They're locking torpedoes. The ship lurched violently as Kara unleashed their upgraded phase cannons. Blue energy ripped through space, carving glowing wounds across the dreadnought's flank. "That got their attention," she snarled. Dr. Chen's glowing eyes tracked data streams. "The custodian's modifications are holding, but we can't take many direct hits." Pip suddenly gasped. "Guys, I think I found the message." His fingers danced across his display, pulling up strands of DNA that twisted into impossible patterns. "It's in our junk code, some kind of harmonic resonance." A torpedo detonated nearby, showering them with debris. The lights flickered. "English, kid." Kara snapped, firing again. Chen's breath caught. "It's a weaponized meme, a thought virus that targets the Varadi hive mind." She turned to Vance, her eyes blazing. "We don't need to reach their homeworld. We just need to get close enough to broadcast it." Another impact rocked the ship. Warning lights flooded the cockpit. Jax swore. "Engine 2's failing. We got maybe 3 minutes before we're space dust." Vance's hands tightened on the controls. The dreadnought loomed before them, its weapon ports glowing with building energy. He made a decision. "Pip, prep the transmission. Chun, amplify it through the phase cannons." He turned to Kara. "We're going through them." Her scarred face split into a feral grin. "About damn time." The Dawn Chaser dove straight at the dreadnought, weaving through a storm of plasma fire. Warning systems wailed as their hull temperature skyrocketed. Pip's fingers flew across his console. "Transmission ready. We need to be within 500 meters. Brace for impact." Vance roared. They skimmed the dreadnought's surface so close Kara could see the alien crew through observation ports. At the last second, Vance rolled the ship and fired their cannons. Not as weapons, but as transmitters. The DNA pattern pulsed outward in a wave of golden light. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the dreadnought shuddered. Its weapons went dark. Strange lights rippled across its surface like a dying bioluminescent creature. Through the view screen, they watched as the massive ship began folding in on itself, its structure collapsing at the molecular level. Pip whooped. "It's working." The signal's propagating through their comm network. Jack stared at the scanner. "Holy hell, it's jumping ship to ship." On the display, the Varadi fleet was unraveling like a knotted rope, each vessel dissolving into shimmering dust. Chen's voice was awed. "We weren't their enemy. We were their vaccine." The Dawn Chaser limped away from the dying fleet, its hull scorched but intact. In the sudden quiet, Kara turned to Vance. "Now what?" Before he could answer, the comm crackled. A familiar synthetic voice spoke. "The quarantine is lifted. The pattern is broken." The custodian's form shimmered into existence on the bridge. "Your species will inherit the mantle." Pip frowned. "What mantle?" The alien gestured, and star charts unfolded before them. Thousands of worlds, hundreds of civilizations. The Varadi were but one threat. The galaxy is vast, and it remembers humanity now. As the custodian faded, Vance studied the star maps. Earth glowed faintly among them. Not the end of their story, but the beginning. He reached for the controls. "Let's go home," he said. "We got work to do." The Dawn Chaser turned toward the distant gleam of Sol, its engines humming with newfound purpose. Behind them, the last remnants of the Varadi fleet dissipated, like smoke in stellar winds. Ahead, the dawn of something greater waited. The Dawn Chaser slipped through Earth's scorched atmosphere like a knife through scar tissue, its hull still radiating heat from re-entry. Vance watched through the cockpit's cracked viewport as the ruins of New Phoenix rose to meet them, a graveyard they'd left as fugitives, returning as something else entirely. "Home, sweet hellhole," Kara muttered, strapping her plasma rifle across her back. The weapon looked almost comically oversized against her wiry frame, but no one who'd seen her fight would laugh. Jax emerged from the engine well, his mechanical arms streaked with coolant fluid. "We got about 12 hours before the core burns out completely." Whatever reunion you're planning, make it quick. Pip's face glowed in the light of his holo display. Guys, we got company. He flipped the image to the main screen, a swarm of heat signatures converging on their landing site. Not Vorati. Human. Vance's hand hovered over the weapon's control. Scavengers. Worse. Chen adjusted her scanner, the blue glow of her eyes intensifying. EarthGov remnants. The same bastards who tried to surrender to the Vorati before the fall. A crackling transmission burst through their comms. Unidentified vessel. You are in violation of Quarantine Protocol Alpha. Power down and prepare for boarding. The voice carried the crisp arrogance of old Earth aristocracy. Kara snorted. Sounds like Chancellor Wright hasn't lost his taste for dramatic entrances. Vance's jaw tightened. Right. The politician who'd ordered the scuttling of the last resistance fleet. The man who'd signed the surrender that doomed billions. The Dawn Chaser settled onto the cracked tarmac of what had once been a spaceport. Outside, a phalanx of armored vehicles formed the perimeter, their gun turrets tracking the ship's every movement. A tall figure in a pristine white envirosuit strode forward, flanked by soldiers in jury-rigged power armor. Vance at the ramp release. Let's see what the good Chancellor wants. The air outside reeked of ozone and decay. Wright removed his helmet, revealing a face that hadn't missed meals during the apocalypse. His smile didn't reach his cold eyes. Captain Vance, we thought you'd join the great diaspora in the sky. Disappointed? Kara's fingers twitched near her rifle's trigger. Wright's gaze flicked to the ship's glowing vanes. The alien modifications. Merely curious. That vessel doesn't conform to any human-designed specs. His smile widened, which makes it EarthGov property under the Emergency Salvage Act. Pitt made a strangled noise. You can't just dash. Quiet, child. Wright's attention never left Vance. The war is over. Humanity's future requires consolidation. Hand over the ship and its systems, and you'll be granted amnesty. Vance felt the weight of the custodian's data crystal in his pocket. The star maps. The warnings. He studied Wright's clean hands that had never dug through rubble for food or buried comrades. You're right, Vance said softly. The war is over. He stepped closer, close enough to see the sweat beading on Wright's forehead. But we're not fighting the Vorati anymore. Chen chose that moment to activate the holographic display. The custodian star maps exploded into the air above them, thousands of worlds spinning in intricate patterns. Gasps rippled through Wright's soldiers as alien constellations painted their armor with ghostly light. Pip boosted the signal. Every surviving screen in the ruins flickered to life, broadcasting the truth to whatever pockets of humanity remained. Wright's face purpled. This is treason. No, Vance said. This is evolution. A shot rang out, one of Wright's trigger-happy lieutenants. The bullet never reached its target. Kara's plasma rifle vaporized a man's sidearm before he could fire again, the heat scorching the pavement between them. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then, one by one, Wright's soldiers lowered their weapons. A grizzled sergeant stepped forward, her armor bearing the scars of a dozen battles Wright had never seen. Sir, maybe we should listen to what they dash. Wright backhanded her across the face. I am EarthGov, the last lawful dash. His words died as the ground began to tremble. A deep, subsonic hum vibrated through the ruins as something massive descended to the clouds. A custodian vessel, its organic curves drinking in the sunlight. The transmission that followed wasn't sound, but something deeper, vibrating in their bones. Asterisk quarantine is ended. The inheritors are chosen. Asterisk. Wright collapsed to his knees, his perfect hair falling across his face. What have you done? Vance turned toward the awakening ship, its surface rippling like liquid mercury. He thought of Vorati dissolving into stardust, of the hundreds of civilizations that had fallen before them. Something better than survival, he said, and took the first step forward. Behind him, Kara shouldered her rifle and followed without hesitation. One by one, the others fell in line. Even Wright soldiers, their loyalty to the old world crumbling like the ruins around them. The custodian ship's entrance dilated like a living thing, revealing corridors that pulsed with golden light. Somewhere in its depths, new constellations waited to be born. Pip caught up to Vance, his young face alight with terrified wonder. Where do you think it's taking us? Vance didn't look back as Earth's ruins faded behind them, wherever were needed next. The light swallowed them whole. The golden light didn't so much fade as transform, resolving into a cavernous chamber that pulsed with organic vitality. Vance blinked as his eyes adjusted to the bioluminescent glow radiating from the walls, his boots sinking slightly into what felt like warm, living tissue beneath him. Kara's rifle was already up, sweeping the chamber. If this thing tries to digest us, I'm shooting my way out. A resonant hum filled the air as the custodian materialized before them, its liquid metal form reflecting their startled faces. Digestion is unnecessary, it intoned. You are expected. Pip reached out to touch a glowing vein in the wall, yelping when it throbbed under his fingers. It's alive? All custodian vessels are semi-sentient, Chen said, her eyes tracking patterns in the pulsing lights. They're grown, not built. Jax flexes mechanical hands. Great. A flying petri dish. The custodian gestured, and the far wall dissolved into a starscape, so vivid it stole Vance's breath. Not a projection. An actual window looking out onto the cosmos. A planet hung in the black, its surface swirling with storms the color of fresh blood. That, the custodian said, is Zaro's Prime, the Verati birthplace. Kara's finger twitched on her trigger. Thought we wiped them out. You destroyed their fleet. The source remains. The starscape zoomed in, revealing monstrous spires rising from Zaro's surface. The hive core still lives, and it remembers humanity. Vance stepped closer, studying the nightmare landscape. You want us to finish the job. The custodian's form shimmered. Not destroy. Transform. The meme code in your DNA can rewrite the core's programming. Pip paled. You want us to walk into their home and... What? Give a software update. Chen's glowing eyes narrowed. It's not that simple. The core will have defenses, biological, psychological. It'll try to consume us before we get close enough. A new voice cut to the chamber, rasping, ancient, and dripping with malice. It came from everywhere at once, vibrating in their bones. Asterisk, little inheritors. We tasted your world. We will taste you next. Asterisk. The starscape darkened as something massive uncoiled from Zaro's atmosphere, a tendril of pure blackness that blotted out stars as it stretched toward them. Jax grabbed his toolkit. We should leave. Now. The custodian remained impassive. The core has awakened. It will hunt your species across the stars unless stopped here. Vance turned from a viewport, meeting each crew member's eyes, Kara's battle-hardened glare, Chen's calculating gaze, Pip's terrified determination, Jax's stubborn resolve. They'd followed him this far. He nodded to the custodian. What do we need to do? The chamber floor rippled, forming a circular platform studded with crystalline nodes. The transmission must be delivered physically. A volunteer will carry the code into the core's heart. Kara snorted. Suicide mission. Typical. Chen examined the nodes. Not necessarily. If we can shield the carrier's mind. Pip swallowed hard. I'll go. Everyone turned. The kid stood trembling but resolute, his hands clenched at his sides. Jax shook his head. Hell no. I'm the smallest, Pip said. Easiest to shield. And... He tapped his temple. Fastest neural patterns. Best chance of outrunning the core's defenses. Vance saw the fear in Pip's eyes, and the steel beneath it. The same steel that had kept humanity alive through the darkest nights. The custodian extended a shimmering hand. The choice is made. As Pip stepped onto the platform, the nodes flared to life, weaving a cocoon of golden light around him. Chen worked frantically at a control interface that hadn't existed moments before. Neural shields at 78%. Holding. Outside. The black tendril surged closer, its tip resolving into a grotesque maw line with pulsating filaments. Kara checked her rifle's charge. We'll need to buy time. Jax cracked his mechanical knuckles. I'll prep the chaser's guns. Vance placed a hand on the glowing cocoon, meeting Pip's terrified eyes. You don't have to do this. Pip managed a shaky grin. Yeah, I do. Someone's got to save the galaxy. Might as well be the guy who failed algebra. The cocoon sealed shut just as the entire ship shuddered. The core's tendril had found them. Alarms wailed as the walls rippled under the strain. Chen shouted over the din. Launching the pod now. The chamber ceiling split open, hurling Pip's cocoon into the void like a golden comet streaking toward the nightmare planet below. Kara grabbed Vance's arm as the ship lurched violently. We need to move. The last thing Vance saw before custodian teleported them to safety was Pip's tiny craft disappearing into the storm-racked atmosphere of Zaro's Prime. One fragile human, carrying the fate of two species in his hands. The stars waited, holding their breath. The Dawn Chaser shuddered violently as it tore free from Zaro's gravitational pull, its battered hull groaning under the strain. Vance gripped the navigation console, his knuckles white as he watched Pip's golden pod arc toward the planet's swirling crimson storms. The black tendril that pursued them now recoiled, whipping back towards descending prey with terrifying speed. Kara's voice cut through the chaos. We need to buy him time. She slammed her fist against the weapons array, unleashing a volley of phase cannon fire at the retreating appendage. The blast scorched its surface but failed to slow its momentum. Jax cursed from the engine well. We're running on fumes here, Captain. Those last hits took out our primary thrusters. Chen's fingers flew across her console, her glowing eyes reflecting streams of data. Pip's neural shields are holding at 62%, but once he enters the core's atmosphere... Vance didn't let her finish. Plot an intercept course. We're going after that tendril. Kara arched an eyebrow. You planning to ram it? Something like that. Vance engaged emergency thrusters, sending the chaser into a dizzying dive. The ship screamed in protest as it plunged back toward Zorro's upper atmosphere, heat shields flaring against the friction. Inside the golden pod, Pip gasped as his body was crushed by mounting G-forces. The custodian's interface flickered before him, displaying rapidly decreasing numbers. Neural integrity, 58%. Core proximity, 12,000 km. A new alert flashed. The black tendril had altered course, now streaking directly toward him. Pip's breath came in short, panic bursts. Come on, come on. He tapped frantically at the controls, trying to coax more speed from the pod's descent. Aboard the chaser, Chin suddenly stiffened. The core is emitting a new energy signature. Her voice caught. It's trying to assimilate him before he reaches the surface. Vance wrenched the controls hard to starboard, putting them on a collision course with the tendril. Jacks, reroute all non-essential power to forward shields. The engineer's mechanical hands moved in a blur. That'll leave life support at 20%. Do it. The distance between the chaser and the tendril evaporated in seconds. At the last possible moment, Vance rolled the ship, shearing through the obsidian appendage like a blade through rotten flesh. The impact sent shockwaves to the hull, buckling bulkheads and shattering displays. Kara whooped as the severed tendril writhed in their wake. That's for New Phoenix, you ugly. A shuddering groan cut her off. The chaser's engine sputtered, then died. Silence. Then the view screen filled with Zorro's storm-racked surface as they began an uncontrolled descent. Pip's pod fared no better. The remaining neural shield percentage blinked ominously. 47%. The core's atmosphere wasn't gas, but something thicker, a viscous, living medium that clung to the pod like tar. Strange lights pulsed in the depth below, resolving into vast organic structures that pulsed with the same rhythm as a heartbeat. Pip's breath fogged the glass as the pressure mounted. Somewhere in the back of his mind, a whisper started, not his own thoughts, but something older, hungrier. Asterisk little flesh thing. We see you. Asterisk. He squeezed his eyes shut. Not real. Not real. But the voice grew louder, more insistent. Asterisk, we tasted your world. We will taste your mind. Asterisk. Aboard the crippled chaser, Chin suddenly gasped. The neural link, it's breaking through. Pip's shields are failing. Vance unbuckled his harness. Can we reinforce it? Chen's glowing eyes dimmed. Not from here. He has to do this alone. The pod breached the final atmospheric layer, revealing the core in all its horrific glory, a pulsating mass of black tendrils and throbbing nodes stretching across the planet's surface. At its center gaped a maw large enough to swallow cities. Pip's hands shook as he activated the transmission sequence. The custodian's interface flashed. DNA broadcast initiated. The core's reaction was instantaneous. The whispering in Pip's mind became a scream, 1,000 alien voices shrieking in unison as golden light began spreading to the tendrils like wildfire. But the backlash nearly killed him. Neural integrity, 29%. His vision blurred. Memories flashed. His parents' faces before bombardment. The taste of sin stew in the refugee camps. Vance's hand pulling him from wreckage. The whispers became pleading. Asterisk, stop. We can give you everything. Worlds. Power. Immortality. Asterisk. Pip gritted his teeth and punched the final command. Don't want it. The explosion of light consumed everything. Aboard the chaser, the crew watched as Zorro's surface erupted in golden fire. The monstrous tendril stiffened, then began dissolving, not into ash, but into something crystalline and beautiful. Chen's scanner beeped frantically. The meme code is rewriting the core structure at the molecular level. Kara gripped her chair as the chaser bucked in a suddenly turbulent atmosphere. Great. Can it rewrite us way out of here? Jax's laughter was strained. Engines are still dead, sweetheart. Vance studied the disintegrating planet below. We won't need them. As if summoned by his words, a custodian vessel materialized around them, its organic walls embracing the chaser like a parent cradling a child. The familiar synthetic voice echoed through the chamber. The cycle is broken. The inheritors have proven worthy. Pip's voice crackled weakly over the comms. Hey, guys, little help. Vance was already moving. Behind them, Zorro's continued its transformation, not into a dead world, but something new, something hopeful. The stars waited.